I was scrolling through my emails on a Monday morning, coffee in hand, when my phone buzzed. A text from Amanda, my wife of 8 years. I opened it casually, expecting the usual grocery list or dinner plans. Instead, 5 words stopped my heart. I want a divorce. Immediately. I stared at the screen, memories of our wedding day flashing before my eyes. The message continued. All further communication through my lawyer only. My fingers hovered over the keyboard before typing one word. Understood. But understanding was just the beginning. I had work to do. Let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit subscribe to hear how I turn this betrayal around. The relationship Amanda and I built started with so much promise. At 35, I had established myself as a successful financial advisor in Chicago, helping high net worth clients navigate complex investment strategies and estate planning. My career consumed much of my 20s and early 30s, leaving little time for serious relationships until I met Amanda at a charity gala 10 years ago. Amanda was 32, radiant in a blue dress that matched her eyes, working as a marketing executive for a boutique agency. Our connection was immediate. We shared the same dry humor love for Anthony Bourdain shows and dreams of traveling the world together. Our courtship was something out of a romance novel, surprise picnics in Millennium Park, weekend getaways to Michigan wine country, and long conversations about our hopes for the future. 2 years of dating culminated in a proposal at the same charity event where we first met. The wedding was everything Amanda wanted: 200 guests at an exclusive venue overlooking Lake Michigan, a designer dress, and a honeymoon in Bali. From the outside, our marriage seemed perfect. We purchased a beautiful brownstone in Lincoln Park, took exotic vacations twice yearly, and attended all the right social events. My career continued to flourish, and Amanda eventually left her agency position to start her own consulting business, which allowed her a flexible schedule. The first signs of trouble began appearing about 18 months ago. Amanda grew increasingly distant emotionally. Our evening conversations dwindled from hours of sharing our days to brief exchanges before she disappeared into another room with her phone. When I asked about her day, her answers became vague and dismissive. Her social media presence took on a life of its own. What began as occasional posts became a carefully curated feed showcasing our home vacations, restaurant visits, and her growing collection of designer items. She became obsessed with crafting the image of a perfect life, spending hours staging photos and tracking her follower count. To support our lifestyle and her growing taste for luxury, I took on additional clients and extended my working hours. While I was putting in 60-hour weeks, Amanda was lunching with a new circle of friends, the wives of wealthy executives and entrepreneurs whose values seemed centered entirely on status and appearances. Strange charges started appearing on our credit card statements. A suite at the Four Seasons downtown on a Tuesday when she claimed to be at a girls' night. A significant purchase at Tiffany that never appeared among her jewelry collection. Weekend spa retreats I had never heard about until seeing the bill. When I attempted to discuss our finances and the need for a budget, Amanda became immediately defensive. "You make enough money," she would say. "Why do you suddenly care what I spend? Do you not want me to be happy?" When I pressed about the hotel charges, she accused me of spying on her and twisted the conversation until somehow I was apologizing for questioning her. I began to suspect infidelity but had no concrete proof. Just a growing mountain of circumstantial evidence, new passwords on her devices, text notifications she would quickly dismiss when I entered the room, and an increasing number of business dinners and events where spouses were supposedly not invited. In an effort to save our marriage, I suggested counseling. Amanda laughed it off, saying we were just going through a phase. I planned surprise date nights only to have her cancel at the last minute for vague emergencies with friends. I even bought tickets to Greece, a country she had always wanted to visit, but she seemed more annoyed than pleased by the gesture. The night before the divorce text, Amanda returned home at 3 a.m. I was still awake, unable to sleep with worry about our relationship. When I asked where she had been, she muttered something about a client emergency and brushed past me, smelling of expensive cologne that was not mine. Our brief interaction was tense and cold. She slept in the guest room that night, while I lay awake, wondering what had happened to the woman I married and whether our relationship could be salvaged at all. That sleepless night gave me no hint of the bombshell that would arrive with the morning Sunday. The morning I received the divorce text started like any other. I woke at 6, made coffee, and reviewed client portfolios before my first meeting. Amanda had already left the house, which was becoming routine. At 8:15, my phone buzzed with her message. The full text read, "Keith, I want a divorce. This marriage is over. I have retained Thomas Blackwell as my attorney. All communication regarding our separation should go through him from now on. His office will contact you with details. Do not attempt to contact me directly. Amanda." No explanation, no discussion. Just a cold legal severing of 8 years together. The precision of her words suggested they had been carefully crafted, probably with her lawyer already advising her. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My hands shook as I read the message 3 more times. My mind raced through emotions, shock that she would end things this way, hurt at the coldness of the approach, anger at the ambush, and a deep sense of betrayal, that she had clearly been planning this for some time. I nearly typed several emotional responses, pleas to talk things through, angry accusations, demands for explanation, but something stopped me. Perhaps it was my years working with clients going through difficult financial transitions, including messy divorces. I had seen firsthand how emotional reactions in these situations often led to costly mistakes. After taking 10 minutes to process, I responded with a single word, "Understood. Nothing more, nothing less." No emotion for her to use against me, no promises or threats to complicate matters, just acknowledgement. Then I got to work. As a financial advisor, I had intimate knowledge of our complete financial picture. I was the primary earner, making roughly $300,000 annually, while Amanda's consulting business brought in an inconsistent $30,000 to $50,000. Over our marriage, I had built our net worth to just over $2 million through careful investing and saving, despite Amanda's increasing spending habits. For months, I had been quietly documenting her suspicious activities. Screenshots of credit card statements, showing hotel stays when she claimed to be elsewhere. Photographs of expensive purchases that disappeared mysteriously. Records of unexplained cash withdrawals from our joint account. I had also discovered evidence of her online relationships. While using our shared laptop one evening, I found her email open with messages from someone named Jackson Mills filled with intimate language and plans to meet at hotels on dates that matched our credit card statements. What I discovered next confirmed my worst suspicions. In a folder buried deep in her cloud storage account that was linked to our shared tablet, I found a document titled "Divorce Strategy." It contained notes from consultations with divorce attorneys dating back 3-month strategies for maximizing her settlement and calculations of what she could expect from my retirement accounts and investments. Amanda had not just fallen out of love. She had been strategically planning to take as much of our marital assets as possible while carrying on an affair. Before taking any action, I called James Rodriguez, an attorney who specialized in family law. I had helped James with his estate planning years earlier, and we had maintained a friendly professional relationship. Keith, in these situations, the person who prepares first usually has the advantage, James advised after hearing my situation. If she has already retained Thomas Blackwell, she is serious about an aggressive approach. Blackwell has a reputation for pursuing maximum settlements through any means necessary. James outlined what I could legally do to protect myself. You can secure your own income and assets acquired before marriage immediately. Joint assets will be subject to division, but you should document everything now before anything mysteriously disappears. With James's guidance, I developed a methodical plan. First, I called all 3 credit card companies, where we held joint cards. I explained the situation and requested immediate cancellation of Amanda's authorized user cards. Since I was the primary account holder who qualified for the cards based on my income and credit score, the companies complied. Next, I visited my bank and opened a new personal account, then submitted paperwork to redirect my direct deposit starting with the next pay period. I did not touch our joint savings at this point. As James advised, this would be subject to division regardless. I changed passwords on all investment accounts where I was the sole owner accounts that predated our marriage. These represented about 60% of our total investments and were legally protected from division in our state. I spent the afternoon photographing all valuable items in our home, particularly focusing on items I had brought into the marriage and gifts from my family. I gathered important documents, including our prenuptial agreement, which Amanda had signed somewhat reluctantly before our wedding, stating that businesses and assets owned prior to marriage would remain separate property. The prenup had been Amanda's idea originally, as she wanted to protect her potential future business growth. At the time, I had significantly more assets, but agreed because I believed our marriage would last forever. Now that document would be my financial salvation. Taking these actions felt calculating and cold-running counter to the person I thought I was. But with each revelation of Amanda's betrayal and premeditation, I found the resolve to protect what I had spent years building through honest work. By evening, I had secured my separate assets and documented our marital property. I sent all evidence of Amanda's affair and financial duplicity to James, who confirmed I was taking appropriate steps. "Stay calm and do not engage emotionally when they reach out," he advised. "And they will reach out once she realizes her access to funds has changed." The emotional toll was immense despite the logical necessity of my actions. That night alone in our home, surrounded by memories of what I thought was a happy marriage, I allowed myself to grieve. But by morning, my determination had solidified. I would not be financially exploited by someone who had already betrayed my trust in the most painful way possible. Exactly 72 hours after receiving Amanda's divorce text, I was reviewing client portfolios in my office when my phone rang. The caller ID displayed Thomas Blackwell Law Offices. I took a deep breath and answered professionally. "This is Keith speaking." "Mr. Marshall, this is Thomas Blackwell representing your wife Amanda in divorce proceedings," came a sharp, authoritative voice. "I am calling because there seems to be a serious issue that requires immediate attention." The controlled fury in his voice was evident. "My client has informed me that you have canceled her access to all credit cards and financial accounts without notice, leaving her without means to support herself. This is a highly inappropriate action during pending divorce proceedings." "I understand your concern," I replied calmly. "All communication regarding the divorce should go through my attorney, James Rodriguez. I believe he has already reached out to your office this morning." Mr. Marshall Blackwell continued, his voice rising. "Your wife is entitled to temporary spousal support during these proceedings. Your actions could be viewed as financial abuse by the court. I strongly suggest you reinstate her access immediately while we negotiate a temporary support agreement. Again, Mr. Blackwell, please direct all communications to James Rodriguez. He has my complete authority to discuss temporary arrangements." Blackwell switched tactics. "Keith, Amanda has been very distressed by this situation. Surely you don't intend to leave your wife of 8 years suddenly without resources. This approach will only make the process more contentious and costly for both parties. My attorney will be in touch with yours today. Goodbye, Mr. Blackwell." I ended the call before he could continue. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda, the first direct communication since her divorce announcement. "What the hell do you think you are doing? You cannot just cut me off like this. Turn my cards back on now." I forwarded the message to James without responding and continued with my workday. That evening, I received a call from our mutual friend Brian, who had always been closer to me than to Amanda. "Man, I did not want to get in the middle of this, but I think you should know something," he said hesitantly. "Amanda has been talking to Kathy about leaving you for months. She said she found someone with, and I quote, real money, who could give her the lifestyle she deserves." Brian continued reluctantly. "The guy's name is Jackson Mills. He owns that new tech company that went public last year. Apparently they met at a marketing conference in September and have been seeing each other since." Amanda told Kathy that once the divorce was finalized, they were planning to move to his place in the Cayman Islands. This confirmed what I had already suspected, but hearing it stated so plainly still felt like a fresh wound. "Thanks for telling me, Brian. I appreciate you being straight with me." The next day, I returned home from work to find Amanda waiting in our living room. She looked both furious and slightly panicked, a combination I had never seen on her face before. "How dare you freeze me out financially?" she shouted the moment I walked through the door. I had to borrow money from a friend to put gas in my car yesterday. I set down my briefcase calmly. "Hello, Amanda. I believe you wanted all communication to go through your lawyer. Don't play games with me," she hissed. "Turn the cards back on and give me access to our accounts right now." "Our finances are being handled as part of the divorce process you initiated," I explained evenly. "James Rodriguez is working with Mr. Blackwell on temporary arrangements that follow the law and our prenuptial agreement." Amanda looked stunned. "The prenup? That was just a formality. It does not apply to anything we have now. Actually, it specifically protects the assets I brought into our marriage and my business interests, which represent the majority of our net worth. You might want to review the document with Mr. Blackwell." Her face flushed with anger. "You cannot do this to me. I am entitled to half of everything. Half of the house, half of your retirement, half of everything. That is not how the law works, especially with our prenup," I replied. "But again, this should be discussed between our attorneys." Amanda switched tactics, her eyes suddenly welling with tears. "Keith, I know you must be hurt right now, but we had 8 years together. Do you really want to end things this way, fighting over money? I did not initiate this divorce, Amanda. You did without warning or discussion. You also asked me not to contact you directly. I am simply respecting your wishes while protecting my interests. This is about the credit card charges, is not it? I can explain those. I am sure you can. To your attorney. Who can explain them to mine?" As our conversation continued, I maintained my composure while Amanda cycled through anger, tears, and manipulation. Finally, she grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door. "You will regret this, Keith. No one treats me this way." "I already regret many things, Amanda. Mostly the years I spent trusting someone who did not deserve it." The subsequent legal meetings were tense but productive. James presented a settlement offer that was fair but protected my separate property rights. The offer included selling our home and dividing the proceeds, splitting our joint savings, and a reasonable one-time cash settlement that was far less than what Amanda had clearly been expecting. Thomas Blackwell initially rejected the offer with contempt, but his attitude changed markedly after James presented the evidence of Amanda's affair, along with documentation of her systematic planning to maximize her financial gain from our divorce. Mysteriously, Jackson Mills seemed to disappear from Amanda's life once it became clear she would not be receiving the windfall she had anticipated. According to Brian, Mills had moved on to another relationship, and his promises to Amanda had evaporated. During our final mediation session with both attorneys present, Amanda finally broke down. "Fine. I had an affair with Jackson. Is that what you want to hear?" she admitted bitterly. "But you were always working, always focused on saving for a future that never came. Jackson made me feel alive, special. He promised me things you never could. And yet here you are," I observed quietly. "While he has moved on." A flash of pain crossed her face. "You were always the sensible one, Keith. The planner. The responsible one. Sometimes I felt suffocated by your practicality, and sometimes I felt betrayed by your dishonesty," I responded. "But none of that matters now. Let us finalize this agreement and move on with our separate lives." Amanda signed the settlement agreement that day, accepting terms far less advantageous than what she had been planning, but more generous than what she might have received had we gone to court with evidence of her infidelity. As we left the mediation room, she paused. "I did love you once, you know." I nodded. "I know. I loved you too. That is what makes this sad rather than just angry." 6 months after Amanda's text message that ended our marriage, I sat on the balcony of my new downtown apartment watching the sunset over the Chicago skyline. The divorce was finalized, settled on terms that protected my business assets and retirement accounts while providing Amanda with a fair portion of our joint property. The emotional healing took longer than the legal proceedings. In the early weeks after our separation, I threw myself into work, extending my days at the office until exhaustion forced me home to sleep. Weekends were the hardest hours of empty time that used to be filled with Amanda's presence. My breakthrough came when I joined a support group for people going through divorce. Hearing others share similar stories of betrayal and recovery helped me understand I was not alone in this experience. Through the group, I learned to process my anger and disappointment without letting these emotions define my future. I also reconnected with friends Amanda had gradually isolated me from over the years. My college roommate David and I resumed our tradition of monthly poker nights. My sister Jennifer, who had never quite warmed to Amanda, began inviting me to family gatherings I had often missed during my marriage. 4 months after the divorce, I ran into Sarah, an old college friend, at a financial conference. We reconnected over coffee, then dinner, finding we had both changed and grown in complementary ways. Her warmth and authentic interest in my thoughts and feelings were a stark contrast to what my relationship with Amanda had become. With Sarah, I am relearning how to trust taking things slowly and appreciating each moment of genuine connection. One of the most valuable lessons from this experience was about financial transparency in relationships. Now, I discuss this openly with clients who are entering new relationships, emphasizing the importance of honest communication about money from the beginning. I have become more attuned to recognizing red flags in personal and professional relationships. The gradual isolation from friends, the secret communications, the defensive responses to reasonable questions. These warning signs are clearer to me now, not just in romantic relationships, but in all human connections. Setting boundaries has become essential to my well-being. I no longer overextend myself to please others at my own expense. I have learned that self-respect must precede respect from others, and that sometimes walking away is the strongest choice you can make. In the aftermath of loss, I rediscovered passions that had fallen by the wayside during my marriage. I resumed playing guitar, joined a hiking club, and volunteered teaching financial literacy at a local community center. These activities reconnected me with parts of myself that had been dormant for years. The perspective I have gained about what makes a healthy partnership has been invaluable. I now understand that mutual respect, shared values, and emotional honesty are the foundation of lasting relationships. External trappings of success mean nothing without these core elements. There is a special kind of peace that comes from handling adversity with dignity. By refusing to engage in vindictive behavior despite the provocation, I preserved my integrity and emerged from this painful chapter with my self-respect intact. Forgiveness has been the most challenging aspect of this journey. Not forgiveness for Amanda, though I wish her no ill will, but forgiveness for myself for not seeing the signs earlier. I am learning to release the self-blame and accept that trust, even when misplaced, is not a character flaw but a necessary risk of loving deeply. For anyone facing a similar betrayal, my advice is simple. Breathe through the initial shock, secure your position legally and financially, without acting from pure emotion, and remember that your response in crisis reveals your true character more than the crisis itself. The resilience we develop through hardship becomes part of our foundation. Each challenge, when faced with courage and integrity, builds our capacity to handle future difficulties with greater wisdom and grace. Though I would never have chosen this painful path, I am grateful for the more authentic life it has ultimately led me to. The experience stripped away pretense and forced me to confront essential truths about myself and what I truly value. As I move forward, I carry these lessons with me: love deeply but wisely, trust, but verify, and never compromise your core values for anyone, no matter how alluring the promise of happiness they offer. Have you ever faced betrayal that ultimately led to personal growth? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else navigating a similar difficult journey. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories of overcoming adversity. Hit the share button if you know someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of a more authentic chapter in your life.